Breaking news at 6, a deadly police shooting in Salem.
Then, a protest over President Trump's policies ends in arrests.
Whether you are on the left, the right, the center, it does not matter. If you break the law, I'm going to seek to hold you accountable.
Plus, how the president is now threatening local authorities who resist his immigration orders.
And a big day for Portland's food scene.
It's exciting, and it's kind of like the holidays for the chef world in a way.
More than a dozen Oregon chefs and restaurants get the nod from the James Beard Awards. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich.
And I'm David Molko. We want to get right to breaking news in Salem, where police shot and killed a suspect near an apartment complex in the north part of that city near the Kaiser border.
That's where we find our Joe Ranieri. Joe, what led up to all this?
That's what we're still trying to figure out several hours after the shooting ended here at this apartment complex on a River Road North. This all took place right around 11:30 and ended here at this apartment complex. Still several hours later, strong police presence out here. Now, police say that the suspect ran into an apartment complex and was headed to one of the units armed with a gun right before the shooting happened. That's when Salem police say police officers confronted the man and shot him. Now, he died at the scene. No officers were hurt in all of this. Now, we're still working to learn more about what led up to these gunshots and why police were chasing the man in the first place. Now, this section of River Road North has been closed down basically all day long, and it's expected to be closed down heading into the later part of the evening hours as well. Now, officers with Oregon State Police, Salem Police, Kaiser Police, as well as Marion County Sheriff's Office have been out here all day. And the main investigation, David and Christine, is happening on the other side of this complex. It's kind of an apartment complex with some duplexes as well, just kind of to set the scene for you. And I couldn't get anyone who lives here to talk with me on camera, but a couple of people did tell me off camera that when this all happened, they heard at least 4 different gunshots leading up to this shooting. Again, we're not sure if any shots were exchanged between the suspect and the officers, but what we can tell you is none of the officers were hurt, and the name of those officers and the suspect have not been released just yet. Back to you guys.
All right, so at least 4 shots fired, according to witnesses, and 1 suspect dead. There are no officers hurt. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you.
In tonight's headlines, Mayor Keith Wilson laid out his plan this afternoon to address the homeless crisis in Portland. His goal is to have 1,500 shelter beds by December 1st. To do that, Wilson wants to create a network of low-barrier nighttime emergency shelters and 4 new day centers, 1 in each district. He's looking to use community centers, businesses, and churches near transit centers.
Portland has the highest unsheltered homeless rate in our history, and the unsheltered are dying in unprecedented numbers. The recent Domicile Unknown report shocks the conscience.
Wilson also wants to stop moving camps and RVs from street to street. Our Blair Best has much more on Wilson's plan and the pushback that came from City Council today. That's coming up on The Story at 6:30.
Meanwhile, Oregon's biggest school district is working through plans to tackle a $40 million deficit. Portland Public Superintendent Kimberly Armstrong is proposing more than $12 million in cuts from the district's central budget and around $29 million from school budgets. Armstrong saying these numbers could shift depending on what happens during the legislative session at the state level. For context, last year the district slashed $30 million by cutting 90 full-time licensed positions.
One man is dead after crashing his car into a house in Tigard today. Tigard police say the crash happened at around 12:40 a.m. on Southwest Guard Street near 121st Avenue. When officers and Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue arrived, they found a Subaru crashed into the front of the house. The driver was dead. No one else was hurt, and no one was home at the time. Police think speed may have played a role in the crash.
And also in Tigard, a vintage vinyl shop is out a couple of $1,000s after a theft. The owner of Greasy Car Vintage, it's in the Curiosities Vintage and Oddities Mall, says a woman was caught on camera loading up on records, about 60 vinyls in all, along with some higher end, more expensive collectibles. A vendor ran outside to confront the thief. You're hearing some screams there, and got pushed back by the car door as the woman apparently backed up and then sped away. Tigard police say they are still looking for that suspect. Matt?
All right, another great sunset at the Oregon coast and really all across the state. This is Newport right now in the glow of light after the sun has gone down. 46 degrees there, but we made it up to the 50s across much of western Oregon after Our coldest morning of the winter, and in fact, Portland at 25. That's our coldest morning since the 17th of January last year, of course, which was the end of that week of weather, of ice, and brutally cold weather where we had lows in the teens and highs a couple of those days only in the low 20s. So this is not that, thankfully, right? But it was cold this morning, down to 21 in Vancouver. We've got a cold weather advisory for Western Oregon tonight for similar temperatures as the big dry, as I'm calling it, continues. We'll get some clouds tomorrow, no precipitation. More clear weather this weekend, guys.
A lot of the same. Thank you so much, Matt. Well, we've seen some unrest in Portland as President Trump begins his second go-around in the White House. And today, the Portland Police Chief and Multnomah County District Attorney drew a really clear line about what will and won't be allowed during protests.
Let's bring in John Adams live at the Waterfront Park. John, this comes after a largely peaceful protest last night with a few folks, not everyone, just a few, who apparently crossed that line.
David and Christine, that's exactly right. A few hundred people had gathered here at Waterfront Park in downtown Portland to protest the policies of the Trump administration. It's when those protesters began making their way towards City Hall that 5 of them taking part were arrested for vandalism. Portland Police Chief Bob Day and Multnomah County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez appearing together on Wednesday morning in downtown Portland, just hours after multiple people were arrested in a planned protest.
Last night, unfortunately, a small group of people chose to act in a criminal manner.
Chief Day says roughly 200 people took part in the demonstration. When the group began marching through downtown Portland, officers noticed 5 people vandalizing structures with spray paint. Police quickly arrested them. Paint cans, fireworks, and other items were also seized.
We are going to be consistent as we have been for the last year, and that we are not going to tolerate or associate criminal behavior and free speech. They are different.
2 individuals face charges of criminal mischief. 3 others have been charged with resisting arrest and interfering with a peace officer.
Whether you are on the left, the right, the center, it does not matter. If you break the law, I'm going to seek to hold you accountable.
Law enforcement has changed its approach to handling these type of events since 2020. PPB is incorporating more bicycle police and has increased training for officers on de-escalation and other crowd control tactics. DA Vasquez says former policies to not prosecute criminal behavior at protests detracted from people demonstrating peacefully.
We want our local folks to be able to demonstrate. We want to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights, but that is totally different than going out and engaging in violence or in vandalism, and there is no tolerance for that.
Well, the 5 people who were arrested last night made their first court appearance in Multnomah County today. Chief Day did tell us they are tracking the possibility of another protest that could happen here sometime this weekend. David and Christine, back to you.
Hopefully it stays peaceful. Thank you, John, reporting live from the Portland waterfront.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Justice Department is now ordering federal prosecutors to investigate state or local officials who they think may be interfering with the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. Libby Dowsett's live at the Washington County Courthouse in Hillsborough. Libby, sounds like some folks here are taking this as a warning.
Well, law enforcement we talked to today said their biggest concern is just assuring people, no matter what their legal status is, that they will be protected with state law. A memo from the Justice Department says state and local officials could face criminal charges if they interfere with the enhanced crackdown on illegal immigrants. The Deputy Attorney General emailed Bove writing, "Indeed, it is the responsibility of the Justice Department to defend the Constitution and accordingly to lawfully execute the policies that the American people elected President Trump to implement." Some take the order as a warning to so-called sanctuary jurisdictions. Local prosecutors, including Washington County District Attorney Kevin Burton, hope the order won't prevent residents from talking to authorities.
We need people to be witnesses. We need victims to report a crime that happens. We need jurors to come in and participate.
Burton said under Oregon's well-established sanctuary law, local law enforcement stays in its own lane while the federal government deals with immigration enforcement.
It says if you're a state law enforcement official, like I am and like my fellow prosecutors are, Your role is to prosecute state law and to follow state law. We don't enforce federal law. We focus on state law.
Portland police also confirming their role under state law.
If we are told that a person has a warrant and it's simply for the allegation of being in the country illegally, then that's going to be handled by the feds. That's not something that we're going to enforce.
Lewis and Clark law professor Tung Yin says the Justice Department order could be interpreted in vastly different ways by law enforcement officials.
Where the state doesn't help the federal government but doesn't get in the way, the order would seem to be saying, no, you state agents, you need to help us. Even though you don't want to, you need to help us enforce immigration law.
He said states who disagree with the president's immigration approach will surely see the biggest issues. And the DA said they do comply with federal subpoenas. So if that's the direction the federal government takes, then they will have to do what they're asked. David,
And
Christine.
we're only in week 1 here, not even halfway through. Thanks, Libby.